how do you communicate the Holocaust happened, it was a horrific tragedy, we're all sorry for it, we want to atone for it in pictures? Literally, how do you do that? I literally do not know, right? The problem we have here is we can say the nice songs. It could be, she loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. And for Jagulian is a blood-curdling war cry, but it's probably not true, right? But we can at least communicate that. We can show them pictures. We have no methods of communicating words to them, right? We could write as many words as we like. It would be like discovering hieroglyphics and not having the Rosetta Stone. They cannot understand what it is they were saying. So the only things we have are sounds. They don't understand words. Remember, they don't even understand what human shouts or shrieks or laughter could be. They might not understand what laughter is, right? So they don't understand any of that. The only thing they probably could understand is pictures of bodies being physically mutilated. They probably get what that is, given that there's a plaque showing what an intact human body looks like. A dismembered human body probably looks like a dismembered human body. But apart from that, complex notions about forgiveness, about atonement, about us being nice to one another are quite hard to encapsulate, right, in pictures, right? That's going to be incredibly difficult simply to portray. So the problem is, very unclear how you ever get any kind of sense of what's going on, or how we know how they are going to interpret what happens. The best thing we can say, what will definitely happen, is when you show them images of violence, they will understand that those are images of violence. More complex notions of justice, atonement, and so on are less likely to be interpreted, right? At that stage, what have we done? Well, first off, this stuff about breaking trust. As Stella points out, we already don't do this in any of the other kind of diplomacy that we do, right? It's not like people from Africa think, oh my God, America's lying, because they don't show literally every bad thing that happens when you encounter one another. That's just, given that they want to base it on how diplomacy goes at the moment, it would seem on that schema, then we're already winning on this side. Notice as well, when I give a POI, are we going to show stuff from 100 years ago? The Voyager is not a light emitted beam, right? It's not a beam that we're sending out. It's literally a physical object. That physical object has to move through space. Space is very big, right? No, seriously, right? As in, the Voyager literally has to leave our solar system and get to somewhere else where the aliens can pick it up. And that somewhere else has to be so very far away that the aliens couldn't have detected us by other, for example, light detecting methods, right? By telescopes or picking up radio waves and things like that. So the distance the Voyager has to travel before it becomes likely an alien race that couldn't detect us via other means but could pick up the Voyager is incredibly vast. Incredibly vast. It will take several, generally thought, say, decades. Not Christmas, obviously, because it wouldn't have even got to Mars by Christmas. It would be bizarre if aliens had picked it up by then. Right? But it would take literally hundreds of years. So like the type of world that we would have by the time the aliens found it and got to us is likely to be vastly different to what we have now. So the notion that there would be poverty in Africa, probably unlikely to be true. I mean, literally, we're talking about a world that would occur in hundreds of years in the future. We have no idea what the hell it's going to look like, so why they would or wouldn't trust us, I think it's utterly ridiculous, right?
James.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see what you got to say.
So they say the world has changed, but they think it will change for the better, which is a good thing. You want to be in touch with civilizations that show that they can turn for the better. You don't want them to think that you have turned for the worse, because you only shown them the good thing, and then they realize that there's some things that are actually bad.
I mean, presumably they aren't fucking morons, right? These aliens, presumably the point which they can get to Earth, presumably recognize that they are good, they're presumably suffering on their world, and presumably they have other relations with other aliens, they know how diplomacy works. So presumably they also know, by and large, things are going to be a lot better than they think it is. I just don't buy that aliens are going to be so offended by the fact we haven't shown them literally all the bad things that they're going to think we're distrustful lies. I just don't think that's, given that that's not how current diplomacy works, it doesn't seem likely that's how it works anyway. So next up they say they'd see that we are weak if we didn't show them this stuff, right? Notice again, those aliens, what do you think is likely? Aliens who are able to travel to Earth, are they going to have more advanced weaponry than 1977? I'm going to guess yes. Also, have we given away our military secrets by showing them the weapons? Yes. I'd say both of those are not particularly clever, right? The likelihood is we don't, in any way, aliens who are going to come to us are likely to be so vastly superior that we don't want to look like any kind of threat. A simple message that we send out could be interpreted as threats. That's the most likely interpretation. That's horrific. Then say, no, this is not divisive in any way. And this is what I want to move on to. So why do we need a positive portrayal of the space program? First off, as Shulman tells us, by the 70s, it's not the case that no one cared about the space program, right? The Voyager was quite a big thing, right, when it happened. But optimism and kind of interest in the space program was by and large declining by the 70s. And in essence, what it relied on was an optimism, a feeling that space was inspirational, that it was about all of humanity coming together, right? Because it was quite difficult to sell the practical applications of sending something off that alien race would find in a few hundred years' time, right? That was kind of tough. But this is an inspiring thing that makes us all come together. That was the way that the space program was sold. So first off, notice what Seller tells you is two things. The bad things require two things. One, they require people to do bad things. So you need to necessarily pick who those bad people are. You need to pick the Germans, massacring all the Jews. You need to pick the Russians, killing lots of people there. You need to pick the Japanese, killing the Chinese. That in itself is inherently divisive at the point at which you in order to showcase what humanity is, you pick out particular nations and say, look how awful those nations were. Particularly when it's contentious whether those were good or bad, right? The rape of Nanjing is something which Japan disassociates itself from. The bombing of Hiroshima is something that America thinks was by and large good. But notice, secondly, there were also victims. And those victims necessarily get excluded. Unless you show literally every single bit of human suffering, we think that's unlikely to be possible. Then you're necessarily going to have to exclude some people and say, your suffering is not important. Far, far more damaging to international relations than saying your particular zither music didn't make it on the space program, but the Beatles, the biggest band in the world at the time, did. Right? That's a less contentious issue than the massive suffering that nations feel. Why is that important? One, because as Shulman tells us, there's a feeling that the US acts for everybody in this regard. That's really vital, because what the US needed was optimism and a global cooperation in the space program. One of the big dangers of the space program in the 70s is that China and US and Russia start to weaponize space, right? You can, for example, launch ICBMs from space, far quicker delivery time and far more devastating. You don't want to get to the situation in which China, for example, wants to enact its own space program in kind of nationalistic fervour because it feels that America is purposefully excluding it. That's in itself bad. But furthermore, what you also do is you massively damage simply the entire portrayal of that program. It was about being inspiring, positive image of humanity, of everyone coming together. Look, this is something we as a human race share. At the point at which you pick winners and losers, victors and non-victims, perpetrators and sufferers, you automatically divide people up. You destroy that optimism, that inspiration, and that collective sense of identity that we try to engender throughout all of humanity. It's a terrible thing to do for the space program, but more importantly, it leads to the destruction of the entire human race, which is pretty weightless in our position.